as we go on to the next section, looking at learner engagement and how we build learner engagement, I'd love to hear from you, Ms. Buthelezi. In a previous conversation, you had spoken to us about the primary school you work in, like many others in our country, lacking infrastructure. In fact, you said one of your buildings has a hole in the roof. And, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to work in a space where that kind of difficulty exists. And so I'd like to understand from you how you've managed to work in such a space and still create enabling spaces for learners, given the challenges with infrastructure and resources. What are some of the tips and tools that you've used to overcome those challenges?
The things that I do in my school to create the safety environment, even though there is challenges, I do activities where I live by values through engaging the learners in these activities, which are like scouting, Girl Guides, and environmental club. And also we have like developing a counseling skills to learners when they face challenges. As a primary school, we are building a foundation whereby when the learners are moving to adolescent stage, they have resources and values for themselves. For example, the girls in Girl Guide, where they develop a sense of self and a confidence and begin to build a vision of who they are and where they are coming from. Because if you look at in the situation now, there are lots of challenges that the learners are facing. But through these activities, we manage to make them engage and keep them busy. And that is where we find where there is a learner who's got a problem and intervene and how to help them. Through activities that you gave them, it builds their self-esteem, even not inside the school, also outside the school premises. And also when they're becoming old, they have to face the environment using those values that we've started building at a primary level school. Even if they're approaching the high school, it's a big jump from leaving grade 7 to starting grade 8. Our school is in a small environment, but when they go to high school, it's a big numbers wherever they never face those numbers. But we are building a foundation of them. Even when they go to high school, they like bold and have that confidence that we are building, and we are counseling them whenever they are facing emotional challenges or other challenges at home. We are there as teachers. We go extra mile to support them and find their life. How are they coping even in high school after they left our school?
That sounds amazing. I mean, I'm hearing you saying creating space to hear learners' voices, creating space to talk about what challenge they're having. And it sounds like putting protective processes in place, like what you're talking about with Girl Guide, to give language and to give support to learners to stay in school. And those are critical to prevent disengagement and keep learners engaged. I just quickly want to check with you. Are there other clubs that you have in your school that you are doing similar things with? You mentioned Girl Guide. Are there other clubs or institutions that you've set up that provide this kind of support for learners?
Yes, I've got scouting as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
About scouting. Scouting is similar. It's similar to Girl Guide. It involves both Girl Guides and it involves both girls and boys, where we empower them also, where we give them tools of how to survive. We used to take them for camping, and you train them how to do a camp. In camps, we do lots of things like first aid. In case at home, if there is incident that is happening, we teach them how to help the family member at home, even outside the school, even at home when they're at home, even in the environment community. Maybe they are playing in the school ground. The teachers are not like vigilant. If someone, a learner, fell, and then those skills that are learning from scouting, they know that if you fell, you have the bruises from scouting. They know what to do, what step to take. And also in Environment Club, we're teaching them how to take care of the environment, how to love nature, how to recycle things around them, so that those things, after they recycling it, they give income to the school.
Absolutely. So finding a way to both enrich the lives of learners, but also enrich the school, a really close-knit pathway. That sounds lovely, Ms. Buthelezi. Thank you. And I think we're going to turn our attention to Principal Mtengwana now. There is a question that's just come through in the chat, and I think it also speaks to one of the questions I want to ask you around, what is important, or how important is extramural activities to help strengthen the connection that learners have to their education, in your opinion? And are there extramural activities or protocols that you've instituted at Solomon Mahlangu to help keep your learners engaged?
Oh, thanks, ma'am. Solomon Mahlangu is a very busy school. We are very strong, also extracurricular. We are also strong when it comes to cultural activities. And the reason for us to make sure learners, when they go to our school, they are developed in totality, is because some learners are not strong academically. So when they go to sport, rugby, soccer, cricket, you'll find them netball, they are doing very well there. Meaning that some of them will when they leave the school, they will be able to live and earn income through sport. That's the reason why we have sport at our school. We have even produced learners who went on to play rugby at provincial level. One of our boys went to play Sharks and even went to play in Italy. He's in Italy now, playing rugby. So that also gives a motivation to all learners who are not strong academically. And also the reason for us to make sure that we have sport at our school is because not all learners should not only focus on their body. We should take the pressure off them so that they can also focus as the active. They always say healthy mind must always be in a healthy body. That's the reason why we are active in sport. We have won so many trophies. 2016, we were part of the 3 schools that were playing rugby. There's a school in PE that invited the school in England, and we play in those matches there. So we're part of that team of those schools that played the rugby, and we had relations with the school in England. And it was very important to us when we shared the stage with schools in England. So that also motivates our learners to do well. We won so many trophies, even locally in rugby. We don't have, one thing that we always persist on, we don't have field at our school. We've got one field which doesn't have a grass, and we use the same field for rugby and for soccer. But we've got 4 rugby teams at school. We are not saying let's not do any activities now, but we keep on making sure that we are part of the activities. Our learners are benefiting. We maximize their potential at our school. Thank you so much.
That's lovely, Principal Mtengwana. I'm so impressed by you saying, look, we don't even have a field. We have a pitch of land with no grass on it, and yet we are excelling in sport. We have our learners participating in local and international competitions. I mean, it's such an indication of a can-do attitude and really leading in terms of saying, we're going to use what we have and do our best. And I think that's really useful for enrichment activities for learners. We know that reduces disengagement. We know that it increases the culture in the school. And so it's lovely to just hear you talk about that. And you beamed when you were talking about one of your learners going to play internationally. So I can see that you're also really proud, just like Ms. Buthelezi. I'm going to quickly just go into a very nuanced kind of conversation about your school specifically, Ms. Principal Mtengwana. Because I know that there are particular strategies that you employ in your school that I found quite interesting that I think we'd want to share with our listeners today. And the one is, the open door policy that you talk about that you have at your school. And I'd love for you to just elaborate on that and tell us what it means and what that looks like and why. And then the other one is that you have an annual school survey. And I think just kind of outlining for us what that looks like and why you would want to practice a survey like that in a school context like yours.
Thanks, ma'am. The open door policy, it has helped the school a lot You know, when it comes to issues, so serious issues like bullying and also the drug abuse, the minute at the time we opened, we had this open door policy, learners are able to come to my office during daytime and share their stories, whether it's a personal story that has made them not to perform very well. And what I do, I refer the learner to our social worker and also to the class teacher so that we resolve the issue in order for a learner to perform. Number two, some learners, when it comes to bullying, we have prevented serious bullying misconducts from the side of the learners by merely a learner will come to the office and share what she has been experiencing in a class. Sometimes they will push a note with the name and maybe and the class. With that note, I use that note to get the learner who's bullying this particular learner. So it helps us to make sure that we prevent serious damage to the learners, because bullying is a very serious offense that can make a learner not able to cope with education, and also the learner feel drop out of the system because of bullying and drug abuse. So when they come area, when they indicate that there's a learner who's bullying them, we act quickly before it escalates any further. One challenge also that we have at schools is a cyberbullying, where learners are writing things on Facebook. It's so difficult for that one to track it down. But with this one open door policy, learners were able to come and show you the messages and also the videos as evidence. Then you use that evidence that you have in front of you to track down the perpetrators. So it has helped us a lot in making sure that we don't have serious issues of bullying, and learners are feeling safe and free at school. Also, it helps us, our learners, to know that they have somebody to talk to. Like if it was a home, it's like a home, there will be this grandfather who's always there to listen to them and address their issues. And also, we address all these issues collectively with the teachers as well as our social worker and the parents that are involved also. So it helps us in that regard. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Principal Mtengwana. I think that you're tying very nicely into what Ms. Buthelezi was saying earlier on, just about creating a nurturing environment. If you're talking about school being like home, somebody being there, an adult that's championing your needs, listening to you, an open door policy that says, I'm not just here to teach you, I'm also here to listen to you and support you. And so, Ms. Buthelezi, I'd love to know from you, have you seen any improvements in your learning outcomes in the classroom in terms of attendance and behavior of your learners, for example, following the interventions that you've put in place and the clubs that you've started and this nurturing culture that you've been building in your school? Have you seen any positive changes in your learners in the classroom?
Yes, a lot. For example, if I can make an example of a chess club, it helped me a lot for learners to practice the thinking through and making a decision and choices and acting on them. They can't just like respond at anyhow. They have to think first before they say something or do something. All those skills, they get it from chess club. Also, the enjoyment of physical activities, like during when COVID started, when first time we returned back to school, it was a challenge, even the teachers and the learners, because during break time, they were not allowed to play or do something. They have to sit still. But I came up with an idea of listening to all the things that were saying in the media, especially TV. I saw that Jerusalem song that everybody was taking using it for dancing. And I use it, I apply it in my school during break time. Instead of sitting and quiet and thinking about the home situation, I use that Jerusalem dance to keep them busy and active when they go back to the classroom. And also they have more energy, which give them like something to think about it when they go back home. It also make their children feel lighter. The way that they were carrying during COVID, it was not easy. But through that stance, it encouraged them to less that fear of COVID. They come to school every day, enjoying that at break time. We are going to have that activity to dance. So extramural activity, it's a tool that helps us a lot. It boosts their self-esteem as well, even in the classroom. Even those learners that are reserved in the classroom, they are now trying to participate when there's something that they need to do in the classroom. Also, scholar patrol, we do scholar patrol in our school. It helps the learners to learn about the rules of the road and safety, but also to take responsibility to keep others safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delezi. I mean, I'm just astounded at the creativity and the innovation. I mean, using the Jerusalem challenge, that's, breaking the idea that school isn't fun and can't be fun, and using it to really energize the learners in a very difficult time. You're right. Which reminds me that learning really is relational. Kids learn from people they like. And, even as adults, we do better in circumstances where we are learning, when we are enjoying what we are doing. And so it sounds like, from what Principal Mtengwana is saying and what you were saying, Ms. Buthelezi, creating that safe space, creating fun, creating energy for learners, hearing them are really important components of protecting the engagement of our learners, of strengthening the engagement. And building, safe spaces and enabling spaces and environments for our kids. I think that we are really getting into the meat of things. And I know that lots of people are going to want to know, how do you do all of this? I mean, where do you get support? Where do you get help from? Who comes and helps you at your school? How do you make this happen? And so we're going to get into that conversation now. And just before we get there, I want to just remind our viewers that you are welcome to share your questions and comments with us. I have one question for Principal Mtengwana, which I'll ask him a little bit later. Even on our Facebook platform, if there's any questions or comments you have for our icons, anything you'd like to say to them, please feel free to post them in our chat or in the question and answer box on this platform, so that we can also share them in the space. But I'm going to turn now to Principal Mtengwana and just to talk us through, what it is that you find as support systems that you've tapped into to help you and your educators to do this very important work, and to make schools, and your school in particular, as successful as it has been.
Can I start with the survey? I didn't cover the survey the last time.
Oh, yes, please, you may, sir.
Oh, thanks, ma'am. After just 2020, we did a survey in 2021 with our learners, because we wanted to check. We always want to feel how to feel our learners as staff members, because it's one thing to teach a learner and you don't know how the learner feels. You keep on putting you teach the learner. We have to know them. So we did a survey covering the following. We check how the impact of COVID in our learners. Have they lost a parent? Have they lost anyone, family member? And unemployment also as a result of COVID. Also, we checked if the learners need help. Do they need food? Is there anything to eat at home? Also, we check if they need skills. Well, some learners are repeating grades, so they will like now to do some skills, but they'll keep quiet unless you do a survey and they write something to you. And also, we check if there are any personal matters that they want to share with us. We were surprised to find that if, about 30% of our learners have lost members of the family due to COVID, meaning that we were able now to go and do some visit in their families to check the impact of COVID. Now, to address that, we asked those parents to be part of the meal servers. They cook for learners at our school. And also we open up a space for them to have some garden there, so that they can also sell the vegetables to our school in order to get the income. So it has helped our learners a lot. You could see the face of our learners now lighting up when they have a parent now putting some food on the table. So that survey has helped us a lot to understand them better. And some issues, serious issues, were addressed by our social worker. She was able now to sit down with the learners and find a solution in their problem. Coming to your question, ma'am, we as the staff members, the teachers and the SGB, we always work together as a team to make sure that whatever support we get we give our learners, we give it as a team, collectively. The editor has helped our learners now to get support. When it comes to drugs, we have a team to support. When it comes to the dropout and other factors, and also alcohol abuse and all those factors, pregnancy, we are a team. We do get a support outside. If somebody comes outside to help us to strengthen the team that we have at our school, that team will remain there so that as a support team for our learners. Not that somebody will come outside and then leaves and there's no support for our learners. It has helped our learners now to feel that they are able now to share whatever they have, and also in order for them to improve and get a good performance. We also emphasize on performance on them. So they know that for them to perform, they have to share whatever they have, which is heavier to them, to us, in order for us to help them. Thanks, ma'am.
So creating what you're saying is really creating a space where you're working as a team and you're listening and you're picking up the problems early, which just goes to what Ms. Buthelezi had been saying early on, just being able to intervene early enough to create that support system. I wonder if you can talk us through, what you've done with dealing with substance abuse in your school. I know that many schools across our country are facing the issue of substance abuse amongst learners and even amongst parents, and that it impacts how learners are experiencing school. And so is there anything you can share with us around the systems of support that you've built for your learners in dealing with substance abuse in your community?
Yes, ma'am. In 2017, when we admitted our learners from primary school, we found that about 18 to 20 boys came to our school under the influence of drugs, and it was Dacha. And we said these boys were very young, 14 years old, and some were 13 years old, 15 years old. We said we cannot just suspend these boys like that. Because they're very, very young. So we need to create a support system for them. It's the support system will be social worker, be central to this, the teachers, and also myself. We would come to school on Saturdays and have sessions with these boys to show them the danger of using the substance. We would also invite social development. We also invite people who used to abuse drugs before, the gangsters, who were gangsters, would come also and make awareness to learners, warning them about the danger of drugs every Saturdays. We also call the parents of the children. And also they were part of the support group. Sometimes when we invite people from outside, the parents be part of those teams that were there. Out of those boys, and that support system helped us a lot, because we managed, some parents, when we invited them, they said, my child will never leave drugs. I gave up on my child, and which was worrying for us, but we did not give up for these children. We fought for them. All these boys, and we were able to leave drugs, and not only that, they gave us good results, and most of them passed with bachelors. Even that support system now is still in place, so that when they come at primary school, we identify them quickly. That open door policy helps a lot then, because if a learner is identified as taking drugs by the parent, we test the learner. The parent will always be there, and we find this boy taking drugs. We will talk to this boy and ask, who else is taking drugs with you here at school? And that boy was able to tell us the name of the other friend who takes drugs. And then we wanted to track all of them. If there are 5 in the school, we'll take all of them. And then we'll put them in the support group system and call the parents. And then we test the rest. And if we find them, they're also positive, then they are part of the support system. They will come every Saturday, and sometimes the sessions is run by them, where they will be able to lead and warn others, and also they help us a lot as staff members to know exactly all these tactics about learners taking drugs and how to know how to differentiate between dacha and other substances. Like they will tell you, this is how you see a child taking dacha, this is how you see a learner taking tics. So it has empowered us so that we are able to see them quickly. For example, if a learner is always out of the class, never again out of the class, and will miss the period, that learner, about, 9 out of 10 chances that learner is taking a substance. So that's how we got that from them. And it has also helped us to trace them down, because this policy at our school that the school is a drug-free school. You cannot have a learner having substance being taught by teachers. We don't have teachers who have been trained to teach learners who are taking drugs. So they have this, they understand that that's the policy of the school, that is a drug-free school, and everyone should be clean when they come to our school. That is also how this support has helped us this team has helped us as a school to benefit our learners. Thanks.
I hear you talking about building this policy, so living this policy. It's not just something that exists, but you've crowded in support. I'm hearing you talk about social development, about social workers, about workshops, about support services on a Saturday, really building in this kind of institutionalizing of support for learners. And really that's the system that works. I can hear from what you're saying that you've managed to make some great impacts with the learners who were struggling. Ms. Buthelezi, I think I'd love to hear from you in terms of your school. What systems and support have you crowded in? Have you gotten involved with any social workers that are part of your school at the moment? Is there any other assistance from other NGOs or anything around in your community? What is supporting you and helping your school to continue to do the work you do?
Thank you. As you know that as a school, in order for the school to function very well, there are stakeholders that we need to have, like social workers, police, and nurses. So in our school, previously, we had the problem that when we needed assistance from the social workers, we had to phone and request some, and sometimes it would take several months and to respond to your case. But now, they fail to get to you at a specific time or as the time you request them to come to you. But now we had a police station which is near us, where they provided us with social workers that are specifically dealing with our school in case of an emergency, like we need assistance with certain issues from the child. They come to our school, they talk to the learner. After they talk to the learner as well, they go out to the home and speak to the families of the learner. And also if that family need the support structure, they go out of their way to that particular home, where as teachers, sometimes you can't reach the home, but the social workers are there to go to the home and visit the situation of the child. And then also, we also involve the police, where like time to time, we need to call them to come and do talks with our learners, especially basically when they were like talk about drugs or the danger of smoking to the learners while they are still young. And also we call the clinic. Our school, there is a school nurse that specifically based to our school. Whenever maybe there is an emergency of a child falls sick during the day, we pick up the phone, we call the clinic nurse, she will come and check the child. That is like very helpful to us to have all those stakeholders in hand to support us as a school whenever we face like challenges. Thank you.
That's amazing. I think think just listening to both of you, Principal Mtengwana and Ms. Buthelezi, I can hear the dedication and the commitment, because it does take that to coordinate the services. You have to build relationships with the people who provide the services. You have to coordinate how it will work. You have to get people on board and build buy-in. And I think just listening to your commitment in making that work in your spaces is incredible.